All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on section 3.11 or 3 and 1100ths, problem solving. So I've written out a problem here for you. I do not expect in your notes, unless you feel so obliged, to write this problem out. What I would like to see in your notes is that you have pulled out those important numbers. That I feel is important. So I'm going to read it to you right quick. Please read along as I read aloud. In the end of May, Mrs. Bone had an account balance of $442.37. Since then, she has written a check for $63.92 and she made a deposit of $350. Mrs. Bone says that she has $729.45 in her account. What we need to do is make a table in order to determine if Mrs. Bone is correct in saying that she has $729.45 in her account. So with this problem, as it said, we're going to want to make a table. But first, I want you to go through this and identify the important information. So I'm going to read through this and I'm going to underline the important information. Personally, I think that this number is important. This is what Mrs. Bone starts with. And then it says she writes a check for this amount. And then she makes a deposit. The heck is a deposit for this amount? And then her total that she says she has is right here. So we want to see if she is right or if she's wrong. So let's look at our table. So here's a table that I created to help us to be able to solve this problem. Notice here that I wrote deposit, because that might not be a word that you're familiar with. Deposit means that you are adding money to your account. On Friday, when my paycheck goes in my bank, it is making a deposit into my bank account. If I get a check from Grandma for my birthday, then I have to deposit it into my bank account. So I'm adding money at that point to my bank account, not taking money away. So a deposit is always an addition to what you currently have. So as you can see on my balance, I've labeled certain things. I've labeled a starting balance, a check, because I know I had a check in there, and then I'm going to rebalance it and figure out what the balance is then. Then I'm going to count in my deposit, and then find what my ending balance is going to be. And then I'm going to determine if it is what Mrs. Bone said in the problem that she should have in her bank account. So let's start going through this. Looking back in the story problem, what quantity of money did she say she had as her starting balance at the beginning of the month? Well, up here in the story passage of the story problem, I see that she had $442.37 as her starting balance. And then, according to my passage, I'm going to put a little check there so I know I used it. She had to write a check for $63.92. Maybe she had to pay the water bill. Maybe she had to pay her cell phone bill, some internet in there, something like that. She had to pay some kind of bill. So because she had to pay for it, it's not going to be an addition. It's going to be a subtraction of money. She had to pay. You don't make more money when you have to go to the grocery store. You have to take money out of your account to be able to buy those groceries. So I'm going to be subtracting $63.92. Always being sure to line up my decimal. So from that, I need to find my new balance. I hope you guys like this because this is exactly what we're going to be doing at Enterprise Village, writing checks and keeping a table to keep balance to know how much money we have in our bank accounts. So we're going to subtract $442.37 from, and we're going to write that check for $63.92. We're going to take that away. 7 minus 2 is 5. 3 minus 9, can't do that, so I'm going to regroup. 13 minus 9 is 4. Regroup. So at this point in her bank account, after she writes that check for the internet, she has $378.45 in her bank account. Going back to my story problem, I know that she had a deposit that she made. According to the story problem, her deposit was for $345. According to the story problem, she made a deposit, adding money to her account, for $350.00. So again, making a deposit is adding money to my account. So I'm going to make an addition of $350. Being sure to line up my decimal. When I add that in, I will find out my end balance for the month. So the total ending balance is $728.45. Going back to my story problem, Mrs. Bone says that she has $729.45. Make a table to determine if she is correct. Was Mrs. Bone correct in her ending balance? According to my calculations, she was not correct. Looks like she was off about $1. So I can say Mrs. Bone was wrong. She has $728.45 in her bank account. Try some problems, take some notes, see how we do. There's a reason that it asks you to put this information into a table. It'll help you stay organized and understand what it is asking for you. Take your time with this and make sure that you are working for accuracy, not speedy.